order of the Municipal Services, Parks, and Recreation Committee. Clerk, will you take roll?
Mr. T. Smith, Mr. Barr,
Present.
Ms. Lang.
Here.
Summary of proceedings, we have none. New business, Municipal 7, cybersecurity. Clerk, will you read?
Ordinance adopting a cybersecurity policy for the city of Marion, Ohio in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 9.64 and declaring an emergency.
So it looks as if we have to have this cybersecurity policy in place by January 1st of 2026 per the state.
Our IT guy, Jacob, is here.
Okay.
Yeah, January 1 is the requirement. Yeah, House Bill 96 is what this is. January 1 is the requirement for the passage date and the implementation date.
Okay. Anything that you see that needs to be added or omitted from this, or?
No, I looked through it. All the stuff in there we were already doing as far as the other parts. And the idea is to establish a framework and permission to start the program.
Okay.
And then a lot of the other policies and stuff that come into play later, or most of them are already in play, but it just puts it in the paper, more or less.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. Lane?
No, this is all over my head.
Okay. Anything from the administration? Wishes of the committee?
And send it on to council for,
I'll second that. If you'll take roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Ms. Lang?
yes,
Okay. Any matters not on the agenda for this committee?
Name Craig 365 Silver Street. I'm not sure if it's for this community or not, because I thought this was more like purpose of municipal services, not, I don't know. What's going on with the silent sabotage? Since we're discussing IT, we've got city council people and we've got, I see we're not having a presentation tonight, but it's rumor. And I mean, we've had people in their official capacities on these shows when these rumors are being discussed. And I know I'm not the only person in the room that knows what silent sabotage is or whatever. But if our computer systems are being hacked, I understand why we're adopting this, because the state of Ohio told us we had to. I read it, I get it. But it's being presented on social media that like a Facebook page has put sprung this into action and they've put in their input on it, and they were supposed to have been here tonight. I see that must have fallen through. But like, is our IT system being hacked? What's going on? We have 150 correcting entries and we're being told that it's really, I don't know who they are, but they are sabotaging our software. And I think that if that's what's going on, the public deserves answers. And if that's not what's going on, the public also needs to be told that.
I don't have any answers for you, Ms. Craig. I don't know.
Ms. Lang has been, I mean, you've been on the shows when they were talking about the hacking of the IT system.
not on the IT side. I haven't spoken at all about that. I've only spoken about the financial part of it.
Okay, so New World. They're saying that New World is being sabotaged. That's our financial piece, our financial system. More than one council member has perpetuated this, so I just think we need to know. Like, people are afraid. People think that people are putting money in their own pockets, that, you know, Mr. Mayor, they think they've somehow inspired you to write the letter to the state of Ohio asking them to take a look at our finances. I know we aren't the best of friends, but I think you did that out of good judgment, not because of the Facebook page. So, I just think we need some answers. I understand why we're passing this, but it's all circled and tied up into our IT system.
Well, we're not passing, this is just going on to full council.
I know.
And maybe that'd be a better question
Where else
for
do-
full
I know,
council.
but where else do we discuss IT matters? But it's gonna go on
If
for
we had an
another week, I
information and
guess.
technology
Maybe we
committee.
could get a week then to answer these questions then. That would give us a week to.
At least the questions are asked, yes.
I can,
Yes, sir.
Please.
Thank you.
foretell the future a little bit. So if you give me just 20 minutes or so, you'll probably hear something in
Okay.
regard to that.
Okay,
So I'm going to be asking for something in finance that will address that.
okay, thank you.
I have a question though. I mean, can I?
Yes.
So did we have any kind of written policy in place at all before this?
We had,
Yeah.
we have a lot of different policies, but we didn't have a formal creation of a cybersecurity program. So we have password policies, we have backup policies, we have all the policies that are spelled out in this. This is just giving permission, the city permission to create the cybersecurity program. That's the whole point of the ordinance. And the state of Ohio is requiring that ordinance to be passed. That's it. All the policies have already been there, they've already been practiced, they've already been done.
Are they monitored?
Yeah, I mean, everything's audited, there's all logs, I get alerts for everything. In that part of it that I submitted, it talks about a lot of the different things. And if you read it, it talks about alerts being needed, and all this other stuff. Everything is tracked, everything is audited, everything is managed. So, that's the standard practice for anything in an enterprise environment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Mr. Rollins?
Aaron Rollins, City Council at Large. Just wanted to point out, you had mentioned something about having an IT committee. There was one. I was actually the last chairman of the IT committee.
remember.
Previous administration decided that it wasn't necessary, so.
I think we'll revisit that January 1.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Amy Craig, 65 Silver Street. I guess since we have Mr. Bubba here, we wouldn't have to wait till next week, and we can ask him if we've been hacked. Well, I mean, I know we had the check thing.
I don't know.
Do we have any legal, I mean, if we're being hacked, do we have any legal? See, I mean, we're all shaking our head no. Shouldn't we have like some legal cases going if we're, all of this sabotage is going on?
Again, I can't speak a whole lot about a lot of different things for security reasons, but I can say with certainty that the stuff that they say is going on isn't going on.
Thank you.
I mean, the way things are set up, the only real things we have to really worry about is phishing attempts, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Like I said, everything is audited, and that includes all the different applications. It all follows rules.
Okay.
Right?
Can I ask you one more question? So you have no concern that like some secret they network is out there tapping into New World?
No.
Thank you.
There's no way for anyone to get into it.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything else? Seeing none, hearing none, we're adjourned 6:37. What's next?
Public utilities.
That's me.
You're staying up here.
I should just move over, huh?
I'll tell you what, sit there.
He's never used those.
And we're not starting until 6:45 because that's when you call the meeting. You figured you guys were gonna take longer.
I'm gonna go stretch my legs. 6:45. It's a big enough truck if you park it at night. Depending on the sun. You park it in the city.
On Forest Lawn Boulevard, where they have their guy lives there. He's not doing the water grant. It's right in that area. So he's kind of taking advantage of it, just like it's related to construction. They're pretty good about it. No, some.
I asked and was told no, that'll be good.
We've moved somebody complained. We've moved to semis and things. I think because it gets up at 3:30, that's why we don't want to. Because the guy over there
Folks, I apologize due to scheduling. Our next meeting doesn't start till 6:45.
Right on the corner, so I would.
So did I.
We can't stay together. Starting to start at 3.
Yeah, did you see a video?
Just use it once. Once in 20 years. Do it for me. I bet you can't split that in half.
I'll bet I can't too. Hello, hello.
Public Utilities. Traffic Commission will be right after.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Chairman. We're gonna all point our fingers at you.
Got broad shoulders. I thought this wasn't happening since
No, they told us that it has nothing to do with one or the other.
didn't they say after the merge, they wouldn't be?
That's what their email to customers said, but the Consumers Council said that we'd go ahead and send it because it's different than.
I'm glad we didn't do away with it and we let it set.
We did the right
And
thing.
you said the right, that's what you said.
No, we just needed to know exactly what was going on. I think I copied you on the emails to the Consumer Council.
Yeah.
They're like, what's this? We've never seen this. What's going on? Just asking. Personally, I thought it was kind of crazy. This isn't the time of year you go asking for increases.
It's usually,
I thought it was spring they did it.
I was just gonna say March, April-ish, I think.
End of the first quarter.
Yeah.
That's why this kind of shocked me a little bit.
That's typically when you would do those numbers and be able to recognize a
Right.
potential shortfall.
Right.
Well, with most financing.
Less than a minute.
I'm waiting patiently. Come on, Dan. Just give it a little more time.
I guess the question is the next committee going to take at least 5 minutes to get to the traffic commission, or are you guys going to get it done in 2?
I'm long-winded.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that.
I don't know if you've ever noticed that before, but I am.
Well, some things need to be reiterated.
I'm just saying. Expected the last one to be kind of long, and it wasn't.
Well, the last one I just felt like needed to be put to council floor, and if anything needs added to that, it needs amended, that's what we should do it.
come.
All right, time is now 6:45. I'll call this meeting to order. It's Marion City Council Public Utilities Committee, and it's the 17th of November. If you could please take the roll for attendance.
Mr. Ratliff,
Present.
Mr. Dickel, Mr. Barr.
Present.
Right, with 2 members present, we are going to proceed here. We have one item under old business, and that is a resolution opposing Aqua Ohio's request to increase water service rates and requesting that the Public Utilities Commission of Ohio deny the utilities request. So this will be the second time that this committee has met on this very topic. Last time we had this on the agenda, and then we received an email from Aqua saying that they were putting in a bid and looked like it had been accepted, that they were buying, I believe it was Ohio American Water, or at least a portion of that company, and that there would be no increase as a result of that purchase. However, so we just left this on the agenda. Follow-up communications with the Public Utility Commission, we have learned that those two things have nothing to do with each other. So they have applied for an increase, and they are acquiring more water company, and the acquisition is not going to cause an increase, but they've already applied for an increase. So looking at the increase itself, it is a 17.5% increase, which is, highly ridiculous, I think probably in not only mine, but everybody in the room's opinion, and that's why we're going to pass something opposing it. Now, in my opinion, and I've said this many times, I think that these utility companies have the game down. If they really need a 9% increase, they apply for 17, then they get 10, which is more than they needed to start with, and everybody feels like everybody won. And the people that really ends up losing are the people that write the checks to pay the bills every single time. With that being said, though, this is the first step we have of opposing that. So I don't know if there's anything else from the committee,
Nope.
from the administration, or from members of the audience. Okay, with nothing being raised, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to send on to council with a recommendation to approve.
So we have a motion, I will second that, to send this on to council for a recommendation to approve this resolution opposing it. If you could please take the roll to send this on to council.
Mr. Ratliff,
Yes.
Mr. Barr.
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to be sent on to council at this coming Monday's meeting. I'm going to assume that this will follow the normal course, and we will partner with another city or two. We typically in the past have partnered with both Tiffin and Ashtabula to retain a person to help us fight it together, and then we pay a third of the cost instead of the whole freight when we partner with those other places. And for whatever reason, the way that districts are made up, they look like political regions because we are in the same district as Tiffin and Ashtabula. So, figure that out, I don't know. So, anything else to come before this committee tonight? Seeing nothing, we're adjourned.
Yeah, another 2 minutes. Mr. Cowell, Mr. Shetler, Chief McDonald, Mr. Rouse.
Who else was?
Finance going to start on time. Thank you.
So you were using some where they hit and then
6:50, we'll call to order the Traffic Commission. Clerk, will you take roll?
Mr. Barr?
Present.
Mr. T. Smith? Mr. R. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Cowell?
Yes.
Mr. Shetler?
Here.
Chief McDonald?
Here.
Mr. Russell?
Here.
Okay, no summary of proceeding, old business. Item 1, Lee Street traffic study. Mr. Cow?
It is finished up, and I think I passed on that the average speed on Lee Street was 27 miles per hour. The highest speed clocked at 54 and the lowest at 7, so that's where we came up with 27. Over 2,400 vehicles in the 2 weeks that monitor was placed. So I presented a letter that I received from City Engineer Jeff Shetler recommending the stop signs on Lee, or the two-way stop at Denison and Lee be changed to a 4-way. We went ahead and had the sign department place that for a 90-day trial period. So that is in effect and right now, so we will see if that helps. I had invited the original people that asked about placing that stop sign, and I don't think they were able to attend tonight to see if...
Actually, we have...
Oh, he is back there. Oh, sir, would you like to address the commission? Sorry, I didn't see you sitting back there.
Hi, Jared Peterson, Lee Street, 562 Lee Street. One, we want to thank you for stop signs. However, that traffic flow is a little sporadic. Those numbers you rattled off, it probably, as you're looking, that might be what it is, but that speed is still consistent. I think it's doing its job and stopping people, but actually, I don't think it's enough. But I think we need more monitoring, having a present officer there to kind of see what's going on. Because still yet, and then my concern is always this: we have kids that ride these scooters and mini bikes and all of that, and if the traffic flow doesn't slow up a little bit more, we'll have some critical stuff happening. Okay. But I think the sign, and everybody that I've talked to really appreciate the sign being there. And now that you have designated areas, letting them know that the signs are there, maybe they'll pay them a little bit more attention. But what you up against is they're running from the train. They're trying to get to Lee or Fairgrounds, so what has happened previously, they've changed their routing. They're now using, Edwards behind us?
The street behind the church?
Yes, they're coming around the church, but then see, that's even more critical because we have our kids playing over in the park. Okay, so that's going to be something that you guys have to take a little bit more consideration of. But again, we appreciate the sign because they are doing somewhat of a benefit to us. I've talked to several people and they thank you for it, and I think it's going to be great. And the team is having a meeting right now, and I'm going to report back that you guys talked about it, and I'll listen for what results we get. Okay?
Thank you.
Do you think that speed bumps might help in addition to the stop sign?
I would suggest that they would, but I think you would have more people here complaining about the speed bumps and everything because of the motorcycles and different things that are happening. But the speed bumps would be a benefit. I think it would be.
Okay. Complaints are better than deaths or accidents. So.
I concur. I think that would be possible too, that whatever is necessary to do until, I think what happens is anything that's new, it takes time to actually regulate yourself into it. Right now, what we have is a brand new traffic pattern and people are trying to figure it out. Some people are coming through, they're not from the neighborhood, they're coming through because they're going to a Whirlpool and many other places around. outside of the city limits, and they don't know about it yet. But as they go through and figure out what we got going on, that would be, I would even consider maybe even taking a temporary speed bumps, just so they can slow down to see the signs. How about that?
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, after members have had a chance to read the letter from the engineer, I would make a motion that stop sign become permanent, that four-way stop become permanent.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second. Rasmussen, second. Take roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
I got the wrong list in front of me, sorry. Mr. R. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Cowell?
Yes.
Mr. Shetler?
Yes.
Chief McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Russell?
Yes.
6-0. Okay. Next item, item 2, the Silver Street traffic study.
At this time, the monitor has been placed on Silver Street, and we should have the data back within a week or so, I would think, so.
Okay. Anything else from the commission? Mr. Smith?
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I think that on the speed monitoring, I still think that we should not consider anything below the speed limit as far as the averages go. If there's some way that we can do that, because, well, for example, on Lee Street, if you take out all the people that were complying with the speed limit, your average speed would be close to 40 rather than 27. So I think that would give us a more accurate picture of what the people were actually complaining about. So if there's anything we can do about that, I would suggest.
On that note, we may have found, Jeff may have found a way to glean some additional information from our monitor, but I don't know what, if
Yeah.
you got a chance to investigate that
A
further.
little bit. I became aware of a software that we have, I didn't know we had, that takes the data from the traffic count, and you can manipulate it to see more specifically times and who's speeding when. You know, you can manipulate the data to see more what you're looking for there. So I wasn't aware until last week that we had such software.
So we're still experimenting.
Anything we can do to help, that's what we need to do.
Anything from the audience? Ms. Craig?
365 Silver Street. I would just ask that you would still consider reducing the speed on Silver to 25. I don't really think that we're through street with the railroad tracks and with the school. And our speed limit breaks up at the end anyway, so I would just ask that you would consider changing it to 25. I went down and spied out I just wanted to know what it looked like. It's pretty cool. So, but I would just ask, and I know I've got another neighbor back there, if you would just consider changing it to 25, simply because of the bus stops and all of the other things. It's a residential area. We get semis, so if we could just slow everybody down, it would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that something the engineer can look into and discuss?
Yeah, we can look at that.
Anything from the administration? Seeing none, hearing none, we're adjourned, 6:58.
So it just has to do with the modern definition of through street.
I guess I should have said.
We're looking at the definition of through streets from 50 years ago. Is it going to affect any grants or money that we get? But if it doesn't, then we're not affected.
I don't know why it's 35.
Should be 20.
It should. But it is a through street, as defined, but why, I don't know, but it should be.
They did it just by length. That's all they did. They just looked at the streets by length, and they just went with the long ones. We did it for Boulevard.
I tried to push it.
Put the stop signs there permanently, going to council.
Going to council,
Monday
okay, 'cause
night.
that really wasn't the motion that was made. The motion was made to make it permanent.
Right, but it.
Is it
I mean,
implied that it goes to council?
Yeah, yeah. I'll be writing the ordinance before Thursday. I just want clarification on the comments that make it permanent. So the council's gonna have an ordinance that has to be
Sorry. It's a little light.
Oh, that was down there. Holy moly.
I have short legs. What are you laughing at?
Smart nuts.
Okay. 7 o'clock, we'll call the Finance Committee to order. Clerk, will you take the roll, please?
Ms. Lang?
Here.
Mr. Rollins?
Present.
Mr. Ratliff?
Present.
We have no minutes, so we'll move on to old business. Old business is, if you could please remove the 21 audit from the agenda.
I can do that.
So we have the 2022, 23, 24, and 25 audit. Do we have an update?
The last email we received was from Cynthia Lawson on October 28th. Documentation was sent back to her on the 28th as well. There were a couple items specifically from OPERS and OPNF that she was requesting that I did not have. I had to reach out to those divisions in order to get them. Their actual statements or letters that contain information as far as the contributions that were submitted during that year. OPERS did get back to me. I did receive that and I sent that on. OPNF, we actually found out today that we were having email issues and they were being blocked. So I didn't actually I couldn't send her emails and she couldn't send any emails. So that has been resolved as of today. I also have a call with her scheduled at 10 o'clock on Friday. So hopefully I can get that information and get it forwarded on.
And who was that with?
Her name is Michelle. She works at OPNF.
Okay. Any questions? Moving on to item number 2, penalties and appeals. Status on that, please.
I have not received any additional correspondence from the IRS as of now. I do know that there was some communication with Corey's several weeks ago. They still have abatements in progress, but there's no update on those items.
Questions, concerns? Moving on to item number 3, Finance 71, OPWC Fund, ordinance approving additional appropriations. Clerk?
Ordinance approving additional appropriations and the receipt of OPWC funds from the state of Ohio for the year ending December 31st, 2025.
This is coming from the auditor's office, and it's requesting additional funds for the construction of Garfield and Brightwood Drive.
Yes, there was an updated ordinance sent out last week. I'm not sure if you have it, so I do have copies.
Yeah, I knew there was an update supposed to come through, and this is not it, so if you could please.
I'm out there for, thank you. So, and I did notice today that there is actually an issue on the updated copy, but I'll explain that in a minute.
You said there's an issue on this one?
There's an error, but I'm going to explain what happened. So the ordinance that you have in front of you with the 229,248.90, that is the amount that we're requesting for these payments to be recorded. The issue that I'm pointing out is that in the second whereas it mentions Garfield and Brightwood, it's actually Garfield, Brightwood, and Girard. It was just overlooked that we had 3 projects going on at that time. But the 229,248.90, that is composed of $64,878.39 that's going towards Garfield.
Can you give us that number again? I'm sorry.
Sorry, $64,878.39.
Okay.
125, 330, 56. That is for Brightwood. And $39,039.95. That is for Gerard.
So the 103, 91834 that was on the old ordinance or the incorrect ordinance for Garfield?
The old one was 60-something, and then we had received a separate ordinance for an additional 30-plus that both listed Garfield, and you asked that they both be put together because it was the same street listed and the same line item account.
Right.
But apparently the second one wasn't for Garfield, it was for Gerard.
Right.
Is that the difference?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I'll make a motion to send this on to council with no recommendation, with the amendment of Gerard Street added.
Before that, I second it. On round one of this ordinance, and I'm not sure why, it feels like you felt the need to separate Brightwood and Garfield. So now we've added a third and lumped them all together. Why do you not feel the need to separate all three that you did in the first go around?
It was requested that it was all combined.
No, I
They're
can,
all going to the same line item. So if you look at the first ordinance, you'll see that they're both 502, 5010, 5443. They're just specified by each individual project. If you'd rather, I can go back to that and then just total up the amount, but that was what was requested, is it's all combined into one.
I mean,
let me clarify. I did not request that the numbers be combined. I asked that the ordinances be made one ordinance instead of two.
There was a separate ordinance that I received for $30-some-odd thousand.
Yes.
For Garfield.
Same line item, but it said it was for Garfield.
Gotcha. So
That's- and
that was a
those-
misunderstanding
those
on
two
our
were to
part
be
then.
combined.
Okay, that
I-
was just a misunderstanding on our part then. We'd be more than happy to separate them out by project.
I personally,
I
think
rescind my motion.
So, and I said I would never do this. I mean, I have done my hillbilly math here, and the numbers do add up correctly. I'm okay with sending this on with.
Oh, why'd you do that to me? I just rescinded.
Well, I didn't hear that, Aaron.
With the addition of Gerard in the second whereas, and with the understanding that the funds are going to be broke up in three lines, although the same fund number, and it be for the three numbers that you.
Do you really want to do that? Because if we do, I'll guarantee you one of the numbers won't be right.
No, if I do
I'll
it.
correct the ordinance tonight after the meeting.
We really should have a trail of showing where.
No,
what
that's
the
why
fund
that I
is.
think that we should do it. I don't. Does it? if
Oh, I
we hold-
agree. I
if
think
we-
they should be broken out.
If we
That's the way
hold
I
it in
want
committee, does it do anything as far as timing
No,
on work or payment?
No. So the way that this is working, OPWC writes the check to the vendor. And that portion that we're recording is the portion that OPWC is responsible for, but we're responsible for recording it on our books. So the
Okay.
payment's already been made, it's already been taken care of, because OPWC does that directly to the vendor. We don't have anything to do with that part. We just have to record the payment.
Okay. If it doesn't do anything, then I guess we could just leave it here. Either ways. Okay.
Leave it in committee, leave
Yeah.
it in committee and break it out and and we'll look at it at the next committee. And by me questioning that, because the second ordinance said Garfield, the first ordinance said Garfield, and I was asking for those two numbers to be combined. And then when I couldn't get any answers, I called the engineer's office to investigate it, and now we're finding out that it was a good thing I did because it wasn't Garfield, it was Gerard.
And that's why I took a look at it this morning, because it wasn't adding up right when I looked at it.
Moving on to new business ordinance 2025-98.
Ordinance designating depositories of public funds of the city of Marion and declaring an emergency as amended.
Okay, this is being brought to us by the law director and also Mr. Reese. This is the depository, designation of depository monies. And I'm going to let Mr. Russell explain it, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. It's been, during the past year, we've talked about the format of this ordinance. So we've essentially got the team together and had a team meeting. And I believe, in my opinion, this ordinance is in a proper format, ready to move forward. I had the ability to talk with Treasurer Reese this morning. He indicated he reviewed it. He's of the same opinion. You'll also note, in regards to previous questions at previous meetings, there's more explanation about percentages. And when the ordinance draft was distributed, there are some statutes that were shared, just informational, and it's not really that complex. But you'll notice on the listing of depositories towards the bottom of the page, it lists 2 primary banking relationships. And it has the proper statutory language that they can't hold 30% of our, we can't deposit more than 30% of their assets. That's what the statute's saying, and I just took the words directly from the statute. So they have a limitation. There was a prior reference to, from an old statute that indicated that the first $25,000 must be deposited in a certain bank. That's been removed through time. And you'll notice, in regards to those banks that are not our primary banking relationships, we've used the verbiage that the treasurer has the authority to divide up those monies not on deposit at the primary banking relationship, and they can hold up to 50% of those monies that are active monies as deposits. So hopefully that didn't create any confusion, but that is actually the statutory reference. And like I said, the treasurer reviewed it and indicated that he's okay with this moving forward, and we can finally put this behind us if it gets the majority of council support. Be happy to answer any questions.
And on the second page is is strictly interim funds.
Strictly interim. Section 1 is active monies. Section 2 is the interim funds.
Can you explain to the committee the reasoning for the changes, especially with us going to have a new treasurer in less than 45 days, and why in section 2 we are taking banks off from what was proposed prior?
So let me start with your second question first. Looking at section 2, so interim funds, historically, precedent has been that our interim funds are with one financial institution. We have one relationship. It's been Fifth Third for probably more than 20 years. And the previous drafts had included some of our local banks, which aren't financial institutions of the size of Fifth Third. So those others have been removed. It can be changed in the future. And let me also tie this in with your first question. There was a consensus that it would be best to get this in place before the new treasurer takes office, so that this is ready to go. If the new treasurer wants to change it, that's, it can be changed at any time. But the consensus by the administrators that met was there's no reason to wait
and let 2 months pass, that the city of Marion's better off by getting this in place, and then moving on to other matters that the treasurer will, new treasurer will have to tackle coming into office.
And then I think I just have one more question, which is on section 1, the depository of active money award. And if I read this right, and I don't mean to be too picky on this, but it says the Fahey Banking Company no more than 30% of its total assets. Park National no more than 30% of its total assets, and I'm assuming its is the city's.
I'm glad you asked that question, and I heard some people, it's hard. I think if you ask 50% of the room, they'd go one way, and 50% of the room would go the other way. But this is taken from the statute, which is actually on the informational sheet, 13503. It's actually, they can't hold more than 30% of their size, not our size, their size. So the its is their money, their monies, not our monies. And that's what was caused confusion before, but this is supposed to clear it up. Obviously, half understand, half have the other impression, but it's just directly from the statute itself. And the state wrote it, so don't blame me for how it reads.
Okay, and then if I am understanding correctly, the culmination of Union, Premier, and First Citizens, the wording says up to 50% of city active monies not deposited in the Fahey Banking Company and Park National Bank.
So what that's saying is the council, if it was to adopt this, that the treasurer, current or future treasurer, can place in Union, Premier, or First Citizens National Bank up to 50% of those active monies that aren't on deposit at Fahey or Park National. So the first math part would be what percentage of the active monies are at Fahey or Park National, then that would give you the number. And no one bank on the bottom listing can hold more than 50% of that number that we just did math with.
Okay, so it's not a culmination of the three.
No, it's not. Correct. They're kind of ceiling limitations and maximums. And so,
within this wording,
yeah.
I mean, I didn't understand the top part or the bottom part, so I don't, I mean, the wording kind of sucks then. Because like I said, I didn't understand what either part meant.
I think we should write our representatives and tell them to clear up 13503, because it says, no one bank shall hold more than the aggregate of excess of 30% of its total assets. And I actually tried to clean that up to read just as confusing on the draft, but that's what the statute is. We're obligated to follow the statute, and I don't think it's going to be an issue going forward. I think, for example, banks know their obligations. They know their limitations. And of course, we all work hard to ensure that our treasurer understands it too if they have questions. But I would ask that if you do have suggested language changes, I'd be willing to work with you to modify it, but I'd like to move this forward, at least get it to council, and if we need to amend it between now and then to make it more easy to read or more understandable, I'd be more than willing to do that.
I'll make a motion to send this on to council with no recommendation.
Madam Chair. I just had an observation on section 3. I think there might be a typo where it starts with highlighted the or more than 30%. I feel like we're missing a word there. Unless I'm just reading it wrong, it doesn't make sense to me.
Where are you at?
At the very bottom of the first page, the, and then the start of the second. And maybe it's because my print is off.
Probably just printed differently, maybe. Let's see if it looks the same on the
see. Promise I won't fall on you again. Thank you. So we have a motion to send on to council with no recommendation by Mr. Rollins. I can second that. Clerk, if you'll take roll, please.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
No.
It's nice to know I wasn't the only one confused about that.
Going on to item number 5, Finance 76, if you read, please.
Ordinance requesting additional appropriations to the SCMR fund in the below listed line item for the year ending December 31st, 2025.
Okay, this is coming from Ms. Torino. You want to explain, please?
So this is the same standing item that we've had throughout the year with the excavation and pavement bonds, that we were holding them as collateral until inspection was complete and satisfactory.
Any questions?
Motion to send on to council with a recommendation to approve.
Second, please.
Clerk, take roll.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
Moving on to item number 6, ordinance 2026-001.
An ordinance to make appropriations for salaries and benefits and other expenditures for all funds during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2026.
Okay, this is the projected 2026 budget. Ms. Trino?
So in front of you, you have the booklet, and the booklet shows you the detail of everything that is on the ordinance. Just kind of a presentation to go along with it, so you're able to see more in depth of what would be in those line items. And then just to make sure you have the corrected ordinance, there's one inside in the pocket. I did double check some of the formulas to make sure that nothing got moved over in error. So, just wanted you guys to be able to look through it and see what some of our expenses will be for the 2026 year. And this is just the draft or the proposed budget, so if you have any questions or corrections, just let me know.
Do we have any revenue expectations or forecasts for the general fund?
Just a second. So general fund expectations or projections, I'll say projections, is around 14 million.
$14 even or $14.5 or
14 even.
even? That's for general fund.
Yeah, that's just the general fund portion.
Do we have anything for the non-general fund?
I'm sorry, for what?
Enterprise fund. And while you're doing that, they would still have, each department would still have the ability to move funds within the allotted area.
Correct. Based on the ordinance.
Same design for 26 as we have for 25.
Correct. That worked out really nicely for the departments to be awarded money between the two buckets as needed, depending on what happened throughout the year.
And we expect changes to be made between now and January.
Yeah, I'd like you guys to look through it and see if there's anything, and we'll keep checking it against the revenue to make sure.
This is kind of a nitpicky item, but can you actually put the department on this fund category like you did for the general fund?
Oh, yeah. I was just matching it up with the booklet, but I can add that. That's not a problem.
Thank you. That'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess when you don't use them every day, it's hard to.
Yeah, I don't have them memorized. I don't.
You asked for a projection for the enterprise funds. It was about 22.
22 million.
Yeah, and that's for the 500, the enterprise.
What is our current cash position in reserves, like investments, banking accounts currently as of today? Do you know?
I don't have that with me. We can look at it at the next meeting if you'd like.
Mr. Reese, do you have that information handy on what we have in interim accounts at the moment? The fund balance for the interim accounts?
You still have that sheet from this morning meeting?
So it's Jason Sharp, Third Ward City Council. It's hard for us to hear in the back, and we were trying to follow along, and it looks like the 26 total budget for general fund is 19 million plus.
Correct.
And what we could not hear, and we did not want to assume the number we thought we heard, projected revenue is only $14 million?
That's correct.
That's
Oh,
good.
wow.
So touching on that revenue projection a little bit, we just asked for and received prior to the meeting from the auditor's office what their projection is. So what she's giving you is what she predicted in her projection. So I'm not sure that that accounts for grants, other things that might not be involved in that projection. So I wouldn't want to say, and the enterprise projection she just gave you has to be low. That 21 can't be, that's usually more closer to like 40 or something, but.
That's just for the 500, it's not the 2 through 7.
Right, I don't think they're understanding that usually they hear enterprise fund and general fund and two very different numbers there.
When I was looking earlier, the revenue for the general fund, I was coming up with about 14,857 and then 48,569 for the enterprise and.
Million, you mean?
Yeah, million, yeah. Which I think.
Can you please repeat that? So you saw some other sheet that had revenue projections on it, or?
That the auditor's office had sent out. I didn't get to go into detail on it. I just kind of went to the bottom line and looked at the bottom line.
And so you saw roughly 14 million and some change?
14,857.
14,857.
And then on the enterprise and non-general fund was 48,569. Which is a little closer, but it's still short by about 11 million. Just a little.
And so I know you had said earlier, like, just you want to make sure everybody understands. It would help if the number of revenue was the same as the number of projection. So, where if you're saying that the revenue is 14 million, the projected expenditures are 19.8, but then the revenue doesn't include everything. Well, if the expenses include everything, it would help if the revenue included everything.
Right, and I think that the issue for us so far moving forward has been focused wholly on the budget and meeting with the departments, and just today asked for the projected revenue from the auditor's office, and having not had time to delve into that prior to today's meeting, knowing that our budget this year went up by about $800 and some thousand compared to last year. So
I've got
if you
9
compare
as
this
well.
year's budget to last year's budget, general fund budget, it accounts for pay raises, insurance increases, and that kind of thing. Not really line item increases that we've held to last year. That's how we started everybody out, was on last year's budget. So really the only increases in here that we're seeing are the payroll increases and insurance and things that we don't have control over. And to answer Ms. Lang's question earlier, absolutely, we made changes as recent as today, this morning when we were going through the budget again and the draft that she gave to you guys. So it's going to be a working document from now until January 1st when it gets voted on.
So with it being the middle of November, do we have a projection of what our income was for 25?
So one of the things, pause real quick, one of the things I want to say is that one of the biggest things is that we don't recognize one-time revenue, whether that be a grant or a donation or something like that. So even though the projected revenue might be 14, we could still bring in more than that with one-time revenue that we don't want to recognize as ongoing revenue. Does that make sense?
To a certain degree. But if we know it's coming,
And that
we
would
should absolutely recognize it. And so, do we know what our revenue is for 25?
Yeah, I was just looking for that on the budget performance report that I had seen. Year to date, we were at,
And this one goes through October 31st.
correct. 13,513,669. So with 2 additional months of potential revenue. What's interesting, prior year was 16 million. And I know from being on council, it was at least 16.5 million the year prior. So what's driving the loss of 2 million in revenue?
Without knowing exactly, I can certainly tell you that our income tax, when we made that change to the income tax, and people that live out of town compared to in town, has accounted for about $500 and some thousand of that.
We didn't have that last year either, though.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be from.
I'm accounting for what that impact it has on our budget for next year. So without that 50%, it's showing $567,000, something like that, and less revenue than we would have had. The other part would be, I'm sure, is some grants that we're no longer, I don't think we have safer grants anymore. So some of those grants have fallen off. Other than that, I guess I don't have a real good explanation about why, other than we're not seeing the and that's what we were hoping to, usually if the deputy auditor can say how much we've had brought in income tax and what he foresees between now and the end of the year. So we went through October, I think. And we were slightly down over last year is what he told me before. So we're still trying to figure out exactly the revenue portion. Like I said, we've been working on the budget portion and getting everybody to put their budgets in, starting with what they had in their line items last year and moving from there. So increasing the percentages as far as salaries go because of contracts and 5% insurance increase for health insurance and adding all those things together.
So do we have an answer on where we're currently sitting at today on interim funds? Because, I mean,
I think it's about 7.5 million, isn't it?
Right, I think we're talking about this report, right? So this shows interim funds at the end of October being right around 10 million.
I think that's off.
That's the form we were looking at this morning that says the treasurer balance is $9,974,397.
And that's for the cash, that's what you were asking, correct?
The cash balance of all of our funds.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I understood the question to be
Oh, okay.
the cash balance in the long-term funds. Because I think you had said interim funds specifically.
I did.
So that would be different.
The interim fund would be a little over about 7.4 million.
And so,
And then we have about
2
2.5
million
million
in
in
cash.
active funds.
I can give you the exact numbers that are on here. The Fahey Bank General Ledger has $2,037,490. Union Bank, $12,611. First Citizens, $2,021. Fifth Third, $7,523,224. Fahey Bank Payroll, $177,321. Union Bank, $3,346, and First Citizens, $250,000, and that came to a total there of $10,006,1653.
so I guess, let's work under the assumption we pass the budget as is. What is the administration's plan for next year? Because we were gonna chew through all but about 1.5 million of that.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we have to make up, so,
Oh, okay.
The difference in the budget. and the-
yeah, I mean, if you're only
I would like
projecting
to-
14 million in revenue.
I would like to get our projected revenue, a little better answer to that, coming from the auditor's office on what our projected revenue is going to actually be. And once we, to say what we've done already during the course of these meetings that we have with department heads, we've tightened our belt already going into 26, knowing we're going to have to tighten some more. So there's several positions that we haven't filled, that we've left unfilled and don't intend filling those. Some in the police department, some in fire, some in the city garage, some in transit. So we're just not replacing people through attrition. That's one of the biggest impacts is salary, obviously. We're also looking at.
I want to be clear, the total number of uniformed officers isn't decreasing, is it?
It is decreasing.
So to
Well,
what levels?
We were at 60,
We're authorized in this budget for this year 62. We are going to be
down
down
right
3.
now.
1,500.
And Chief?
Our authorized strength is 63. We're down one because of a little snafu, but with 2 retirements projected next year, we'll be down to 61.
And those are, now that he's mentioning, I mean, those are things that we have to look at for next year too, that we can't budget for. We don't know who's retiring for sure, but when somebody retires in the fire department or the police department, there's generally a pretty hefty payout. Also, 2026 has a 27th pay. For those of us that, you guys, I know that heirs have been around long enough to know what 27 pay is and what that means for a municipality, and I think we added it up today, and our payroll for one pay is,
One bi-weekly pay?
yeah, it's like 800 and some $1,000, so adding another pay to that next year will probably be close to $800,000 or $900,000 extra that we did budget. I mean, we put it in there, so that's some of the difference that you're seeing
Sure.
and what we're looking at. It's all the while we're still trying to make up for negative line items that carried over from 23 into 24 and now into 25, and you remember last year, Casey.
At what point is Schertzer not responsible for the budget? Like at what year is he not responsible
I'm not
anymore?
saying he's responsible for it at all. I'm just saying, and I'm saying we're still trying, in fact, that's one of the things that the state has concern with, is still having negative line items. And last year, we paid off 3.9 some million in negative line items, and our budget went from 15 million up to 20 because of that.
Well, our invested money has went from 13 million to 7.5 in 2 years. So, so we can say Schertzer left us with line items. Schertzer left us with money in the bank.
I just gave you where some of that went.
And so, I
just told you that 3-point-something million of that went out to pay negative line items that were carried from, it's like, I like to use so you can build up a big savings account if you're not paying your bills.
Right.
If you're not paying your bills, I can build up a big savings account, but we're trying to pay our bills because that's what the state says we have to do.
And I understand that you had $3.5 million of line items, but we've spent $5 million of the invested money. So we can't say Schertzer because
I'm not saying that at all. I'm just
It
saying
sounded
that
like
our budget really has not increased dramatically from 23 to 24 to 25 and now into 26. I mean, we're talking within $800,000 in between those budgets, and if our revenue starts declining and our expenses stay or go up like they did for this, eventually we got to catch up. I mean, we can't, that's why some of the invested money had to be used. And I'm right there with you. I'm just as concerned about that as you are.
I mean, I've said for 2 years in 26 the city will have layoffs, and I don't see how you're going to get around those. You can't have a $14 million projected revenue and $19.8 million in projected expenses with only $7.5 million left in invested money and think everything's okay, because it's not. It's just the math doesn't work.
It absolutely doesn't seem okay to me. Thus is the reason I wrote the letter to the state a couple weeks ago. So it obviously doesn't seem right to me either. But we're going to figure out a way to get through it. And I don't want to talk about layoffs. It's way too early to talk about that. I think as we move forward and we don't fill positions, then and I also want to see what our revenue does. So we want to be able to trust the number that we're getting in the revenue to see if that's truly what we're expecting.
Can we kind of see some revenue projections just from the various? Yeah.
Martin sent something shortly before the meeting, and it was in an Excel file, and I'm obviously not an accountant, and it was difficult for me to read, just trying to brush through it. So that's on our agenda. First thing tomorrow is to look at that and see what that is.
And then to put another cog in the wheel, I think we have some big expenses for payments that are due between now and the end of the year. So I think that we're going to be under $7.5 million the next time that the Treasury Investment Board meets.
Treasury Investment Board met this morning.
Okay.
At 9 o'clock.
And what was there a recommendation?
The recommendation was $3 million?
2.1, then if we need another 900,000, we will get that or reinvest it.
There was 3,400,000 and some odd that had not rolled into new investments. that was available to be used for our big bond payments that you're talking about.
So now we're down to about 4 million.
So we're at basically a loss starting this year.
Mm-hmm. They're about 26 negative.
And I'm not trying to argue, I'm just trying to give you the facts of where we're at today and how we see our way through this. And so today, we had about, so they have, just a second.
Are you talking about the bond payments? You looking for what we have
Yeah.
to pay? It was 2.1 million something.
Roger, I was looking for something. Can I ask a quick question, Chairman? Jason Sharp, Third Ward City Council. So I believe the request was to have the TID meetings prior or on committee nights.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall any notification to anyone. So was this an actual publicly held meeting? So that's, last thing I heard was it was going to be on committee nights.
I didn't know you guys met either.
Public, there was a notice that was sent out by the deputy auditor last Friday, I believe.
To,
I can't tell you who, he just told me that he posted it. There was a discussion about when we could have the meeting, and it was decided on 9 o'clock today. And we were assured today prior to the meeting that public notice had been given and had the meeting.
Did anyone from the public attend?
No.
did anybody from the public know?
No.
I mean, you know, I'm just saying, I didn't know. I'm assuming Councilman Rollins didn't know.
Nope.
We would have to ask.
We're 2/3 of the finance committee.
We would have to ask Deputy Watts how he posted that, I'm not sure.
Okay, I have a question. Victoria Arndt, 410 Clover Avenue. As I'm listening to all these numbers, I'm listening to all these meetings that are coming at the last minute, the morning of, I would like to leave something for you guys to think about. This is not fair to the public. It's not fair to you committee members, period. Everybody comes up here, they say what they have to say, which I understand, but nothing is ever finished for anybody to understand a total to what you need. It's their job to think ahead of what you're going to be asking, because most of them have been here long enough to say, so-and-so's going to say this, ask this, do I have an answer? Our auditor still doesn't give the friggin' answers, period. I've been doing this, 6 years approximately? Thank you, Dick. But I don't hear us going anywhere. I'm hearing our mayor say, we're coming in a bigger hole. We've been asking for at least 6 years. What are we going to do? Ayers, you're the one who kept saying something's not right. Not that you were blaming anybody. You just said this is not going where we need it to go. You, unfortunately, said to me, don't bring up the past. You yelled at me when we had Barr come in. But if we don't look at our past, here we are. That's history. Kyla has been one who's more than willing. Dick and I have done grants. We know for a fact you asked for more, so that they will not give you that extra more in your cut. We just did one for a church. Was it the exact amount we needed? It was very shy, but let me tell you, the people who gave Dick and I that information knew what to do. And that was that it wasn't the city, it was the state, or was it federal? Whoever it was. So it's not what you were saying, Mayor, and I'm not upset with you, but we don't know what we're doing. same thing, and I haven't been here for about 6 months, maybe a year now, because I got set up. But I'm concerned as a taxpayer, and Dick and I don't have small taxes that we pay. And he's been involved with the city for years upon years upon years. So he's put in a lot of money, and where is it?
I mean, bottom line, the underlying issue in this entire city is the fact that since 2019, the city has not done its books right, has not been accountable for the money that we have, has not been able to project revenue, has not been able to project expenses, has not been able to do any accounting financially. But meanwhile, there's been a city to run. Meanwhile, there's been street lights that's been turned on every night. And meanwhile, there's been streets that are paved. And meanwhile, there's been cops that are paid. And the city had to run. And it's been running blindly for a long time. And now there's going to be hell to pay because nobody knew what was going on. And it's no single person's fault. It's a whole bunch of people's fault. But meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of people that it looks like that it's their fault that truly had a job to do and had no information to do it. And that's been the story for the last portion of Schertzer's administration. That's been the story for the entire Collins administration. We've had the last 2 mayors that had a city to run and had no information to do it. And I know people don't like hearing to talk about layoffs. They're coming. When the math doesn't work, there's no alternative. And the math simply doesn't work. We simply are running the funds dry to run the city the way that it's currently running.
Victoria on 410 Clover Avenue. What I would like as a council to hear for this particular moment, and many of you will be on next week, is that we need to start looking, that we're top heavy. We have hired a tremendous amount of people to help other people who were incompetent, period. Not blaming anybody. We've had things change where it has cost our budget since we've had a new mayor, that a lot of people have questioned why, and we were all told to leave it alone. We've got issues with people that have taken funding and still working in the administration offices and outside, but nothing is coming in. So if you're giving money, we give money to get money in return. It's supposed to be an asset. We have really done something backwards, and I believe I'm the one who said, what's for the future? And nobody could come up with it. And that was longer than 6 years ago, because I've lived here over 20 years. Nobody could give an answer then. Nobody is giving an answer tonight. And yet, who's going to pay the price? We've got big administration bills coming in here, paying payroll. That's our payroll. We need to look at that and ask, what are we going to do? We need to let some people go, not just the police and the fire. Those are needed. I mean, we've got issues going on in the streets. I've known that. I used to minister in the streets. That's all I'm saying is we need to start cutting from the top down.
Madam Chairman, I just want to answer a few things that she just mentioned. So, talking about cutting from the top down or adding positions. We have added 1 position under my administration, and that's the Director of Budget. Other than that, you're right, we added a grant writer who brought in $1.8 million already in 7 months, but we also reduced staff in the zoning department. So the only one person that we have truly added was the budget, director of budget and finance. Just recently, we have not hired, we've replaced directors in 3 departments and not hired an assistant like they had before. So I hear what they're saying, and we're trying to make a difference with that. And to say I wasn't concerned would be an understatement. Obviously, I am concerned, and that's why I sent a letter to the state. And that's why we're trying to pare this 2026 budget down as low as we can and still operate. Like Mr. Ratliff said, you still have a city to run, you still have garbage to pick up. A lot of those departments, we have not filled positions in, nor will we fill the positions until we see where we're at.
Your unfilled positions, have you taken those salaries out of the 19 point, my eyes are so bad, point something?
7.4.
I got 19 point, it looks like 843.
Yes, they should be taken out and accounted for, but I will
Okay.
double check and bring those with the projected revenue.
Well, I was hoping the answer was no, but.
We talked about that this morning, and she's going to double check to
Okay.
make sure that we went over the positions that we had open and weren't filling, and she's going to double check that, because that was one of
If you
my.
go to the very back of the packet, it shows you there's about 2 million less than last year.
Which
Yeah,
packet?
Sorry, the
Okay.
booklet. All the way at the end, I think it's like complete fund grand totals or something at the very end.
Last page.
This one?
Yeah, you should be able to see between 2025 amended budget versus the proposed 2026.
It's something we've always talked about before in sitting through council meetings of talking about carryover. And I think a lot of people get the misconception of if we don't spend everything in our budget, it's carryover. It's really not carryover. I mean, it's just money that we didn't spend. So everything, like you said, Mr. Ratliff, everything comes out of that cash balance report. And that's the bottom line, is to look at that cash balance report that we have every month to see how much we still have invested, how much we have in our active accounts, and that.
24.
That's where our surplus of money is at.
So yeah, if you're trying to give us previous years, I don't think that it's labeled.
Yeah, that's what I'm not, so is this 23, 24,
Yes,
25?
sorry.
And this is 26?
Yes,
So the first column is 23,
24.
24?
It should match the page in front of it. So just like these, you would have 2020
Okay.
like that.
Gotcha.
I guess I just didn't drop it down for that last page.
Okay,
Or
so
on all
the first
others.
column is the 24 year-to-date. Second column is 25 amended budget. The third column is the 2025 year-to-date, and the
Actually.
fourth column is the proposed 26.
Sorry, I just didn't drop it down to that last page, but they were on the others.
Some of the other cost savings measures that we're already looking at, there was a big project planned for North Prospect Street next year that we've already put on hold. If you go back historically to the reason our bond payments are so high is we've had a lot of street projects, and they just kept doing more street projects, and eventually that adds up to the $2 million bond payment that we made today to cover those bonds and those projects. So, and then we just recently this year have that, the EPA long-term plan that we have to follow, and borrowed $14 million for phase 2 and 3 of that project that we haven't started paying on.
Now, what's on hold for North Prospect?
What is on hold? The entire project. So they had done the engineering, which was already done. The engineering was done, and just like they have done other streets with sewer sanitation, curb to curb, that was going to be done from the overpass all the way north to Fairground Street. And multi-million-dollar projects is going to have to wait. Even though we were getting some grant funding for that, our portion of that was going to be very high.
Not in the
So recommendation is to send this on to council so that it can go through the process and be available for approval on January 1st.
Can I ask a few questions, please? I'm writing some of these down here, and Craig, I'll make sure I have them all written down correctly. Okay. So, as of right now, we're projecting 14 million in revenue, but we're not sure, and that's 2 million less than what we brought in last year.
We don't have solid numbers.
I said projecting. So right now, we are projecting.
That's what we were told, yes.
That's what we were told.
Yes.
We don't know.
So what I wrote down is correct, I guess is what I,
It seems on track with what we're bringing in this year,
I feel
though.
like I'm on Jeopardy and I don't know how to word the question. So I'm wording these questions incorrect. Seems similar to what we brought in last year is what you said. That's what I was
No,
getting.
I'm talking about this year. We're at 13,513,000 and change for this year.
Mm-hmm.
November and December would be some of our lowest months of the year. Would that be over $500,000 that we're going to bring in? Would you, typically, you
I was going to
think?
say, don't we have a rough estimate
I mean, so
of what we normally bring in?
I think
these
14 probably
months? Is
about what, because that's what we're going to have this year. You know, I mean.
16 is what we brought in last year, I think I heard is what you said though. That's
correct.
Okay, so I understand there can be differences, like we might have collected something special that we didn't, or bonds or grants or whatever. I get all of that. Okay, but we're projecting 19 in expenses for next year.
From the general fund.
Ish, 19, I'm just keeping the numbers, I'm not doing the decimals. Okay, so that leaves us with a $5 million shortfall, but we're saying we might have more revenue. Magically, we may come up with another million somewhere, hopefully, possibly, maybe 2 if we're lucky, if Santa's good to us, if we've been good. Okay, so that still leaves us millions of dollars in the hole, and then you guys have explained, or they told us now that they've cashed in 2.1 million of our other long-term investment, or our interim funds. So now we're down to like 5, and that would be enough to cover our shortfall. Are we allowed to pass an unbalanced budget?
No.
So by the beginning of January, that $5 million has to be found or cut.
Exactly.
So in 6 weeks, I hope people listening to this, in 6 weeks, we have to cut about $3 million, to be safe, fair?
We do or we don't. We passed a non-balanced budget last year.
Yeah. Oh, so we can just do whatever we want.
Well, so there's a difference.
Well, there hasn't been a balanced
Because-
budget for a long time.
No, silent sabotage.
So you can pass a budget where you have higher expenses than the revenues if you have the carryover to cover that up. We're getting to the point that we don't.
So at the beginning of the year, we would have 0 carryover. So say February, something bad happened. we
I'm
would-
talking the beginning of 27.
Okay.
There would be 0, and you know
So we're blowing through our whole savings account next year.
we've always heard on council you have to have a $2 million carryover, and that was said 20 years ago. So is it still 2? I don't know.
Are you
Maybe
glad
it's
you're
2.5 or 3.
Are you glad you're leaving?
You know, I'm
We're
still
not.
mixed there.
But,
But you know, there has to be significant changes in 26. There just does.
If none, all said, by the end of next year, we would be out of money, $0.
Yes.
Speculating.
It's simple math.
I said, okay, speculation, yes. We're
Speculating.
Hey, we were speculating about silent sabotage on the internet, so I think we can stand up here
Okay,
and
can
speculate.
your next question, please?
Ma'am, you need to.
Your next question,
okay, unless
please.
it's fighting words, I'm allowed to
Keep
say
it to
I
what
am.
we're talking about.
I am, we're talking about the budget and how screwed up it is. So,
So,
and I just want
next
to make sure
question.
everybody, okay, like I said, I'm not sure I know how to phrase these questions tonight. Is this
Well,
Jeopardy?
here's the thing. We don't have the answers either.
Then how are you
We're
gonna pass
trying
the
to
budget?
get them.
Do you, okay, if you don't have the answers, how can you sit up here and yell at anybody How can you go on the internet talking
I
about?
mean, I know I'm not the chair, but let's
I think-
Okay, you're right.
let's everybody stay, committee and.
I agree. I apologize. I'll be the bigger person here. If you're so frustrated, imagine how the people that don't sit in on these silent sabotage and all these $2.1 million bond payment meetings and all these other things. We get our information through a Facebook page, and when we ask questions and we're told we're not asking them directly. So, we talked about, to Ms. Arndt, okay, she brought up some good points. All this money that we've created, the positions that we created, we're creating another six-figure position at the beginning of the year. Let's put that out there. Is that included in the budget? Does anybody know?
I have to assume it is. I haven't
would assume.
reviewed the actual budget, but it is referenced in the notes here in the beginning, so.
So we need to come up with $5 million, but we're adding a six-figure position. We did add, you said we only added, we added two, so we agreed that the grant writer was an added position, but she has been valuable. Along with her, we got $10,000 worth of desks. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget the $60,000 worth of stickers and wraps and bus decals and all the other stuff, the street signs. So we're sitting up here talking and blaming Scott Schertzer. Scott Schertzer didn't have $4,700 worth of wraps in his office. Scott Schertzer didn't spend limitlessly on a bus line that he would not tell us how much it cost. So we clearly have a revenue problem. We also have a major, major spending problem. $5 million we need to cut, y'all.
So which is the committee then?
Jason Shower, Third Ward City Council. If the purpose of tonight's meeting is to see what we can look at cutting and see where we can pare down this budget, is that what I'm hearing is the goal tonight? Or is it just to simply pass it on to council?
To pass it on to council so that we can get it through the three reads to be ready to approve a good budget on January 1st of '26.
So we're going to just get the readings in so that the new council on January 1 at noon can make a decision.
We'll make adjustments between now and then.
So that is the purpose of this meeting, is to see what we can pare down.
That's not the purpose of this meeting at all. The purpose of this meeting is, I'm the mayor, I'm probably in the best position with my administration to figure out where we need to make cuts at. So I don't think I would come to ask Mr. Rollins where I should make a cut at in the Parks Department, because he probably wouldn't know. So I don't think that's what this meeting's about, pushing the budget forward so we can have three readings. And during that next 3-week process, or 6 weeks process,
You will come to us.
we will come back to you guys with changes each week or when we meet to tell you what changes and what cuts we've been able to make or what more revenue that we've been able to find.
So, and one more thing, the budget book that you have, the three members here, do the new council members or incoming council-elect members have this information? I would hope we would get that to them.
We discussed that earlier today, and they're going to be sent that information electronically, and they can also get a book if they want a book. Doesn't matter. But we'll make sure they have it.
And the last thing that I'll say, and it's probably going to be viewed as, it's not my intention, but as a parting shot, because I will not be here, but council is due to receive a raise. And I think just by leadership by example, this budget, if it's sent on to council, those raises should be removed from 26 budget. Just because there's going to be some tight cuts anyways.
Unfortunately, I don't think this is ready to pass on to council because it isn't a balanced budget. And I don't see how we, although had said I was going to earlier tonight, we've tried to make it a habit not to pass ordinances out of this committee that we know are going to need to be changed. And so maybe we need to have a special council meeting at some point, but to get all the readings in. But I personally don't feel this is ready to be passed on. being $5.8 million out of whack. And that's just on the general fund side.
So if we hold it in committee, then you can get adjustments to us, and I will call special committee meetings then.
I would assume we'll have a special council meeting at some point to get all the readings in.
We have to get 3 readings
I
on
know,
it.
yeah.
Well, the third reading is January 1st. So if this comes out of committee on December 1st, there's 2 council meetings before the end of the year.
Okay.
So at this point, which of the committee is to hold it here, and we'll look at adjusting it and the such going forward. Moving on to,
Gary has a question.
Sam Larkin, 154 Council Street. How much are we in arrearages of property tax and trash and everything? And what can we do about that?
property taxes, we have no control over.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean,
county.
like trash service and all that other stuff.
Trash service, that's enterprise fund.
So yes, but wouldn't that be bringing income in?
For the enterprise fund, not the general fund.
Yeah, it wouldn't do anything for the discrepancy we're talking about tonight.
Okay. But that's still.
It's a whole separate pot of money is the, and if you want to, I'm more than happy to sit down and have a cup of coffee and go over budgets,
It's gonna be more than coffee.
A couple pots of coffee.
Lunch, dinner.
But really, to her point, I mean,
Yeah.
the enterprise funds is $10 million short, so.
Yes.
How much? Projected.
Projected, 10 million. So I'm showing a total enterprise budget of 58 million and 500,000. And according to finance chair, she saw,
She saw.
yes, a projected revenue of 48,569,000. So we need to get the projected revenue nailed down. I think first and foremost, it would be good to see those numbers from the auditor.
Okay, moving on to item number 7.
That one we were taking off. We were removing that
The fire fund, so we are removing that one from the agenda. And then,
There's not on the agenda.
what's this here?
That, I believe that's from the mayor.
Ordinance 2025-063,
That's in relation to number 7.
that's number 7.
Yeah.
I thought that was related to IT infrastructure.
No, this one is, but the one that's listed down there was,
Okay.
Finance 77 was actually going to amend 2025-063.
Okay. So moving on to matters not on the agenda.
I got a couple. Just to give some updates, is there any update of the money council passed at its last meeting for the $25,000? And just to give us an update of what's been done with that for the...
Madam Chairperson, I'm going to hand you a draft ordinance that is responsive to Mr. Ratliff's question. At the last council meeting, council directed administration and the mayor's been working to put together a plan to expend the $25,000 that the council identified
that it desired to have spent to address food insecurities caused by the federal shutdown and the SNAP being defunded. So this is actually an ordinance which would appropriate the monies, and the mayor can follow up on the plan to expend them. But this is the appropriation ordinance, as everyone's well aware. There can't be an expenditure actually made unless an appropriation is approved by council first. So I do already see a typo. There's some typos that need to be fixed. There may be some additional changes that need to be made between tonight. Hopefully the committee sends it on to council and we can make the changes before the Thursday noon deadline. But with that, I'll answer any questions, but I'd like to turn the floor over to the mayor so he can explain the administration's plan of action.
So we met shortly after the last meeting when you guys proposed that, and the administration, we felt that it was best to use a single point like the Salvation Army to distribute those funds to, because they reach out to all the food banks and they know the people in need a lot better than we do. So we talked with them and they were willing, obviously, to accept a $25,000 donation and distribute it accordingly. But we needed an ordinance to be able to do that. So that's where we're at right now, is trying to get the legal authority to make that happen.
I'll make a motion to send on with a recommendation to approve.
Second.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes. All right, another one I have. I was asked earlier today what the update is on the fire station and where we're at with that.
So, just like the North Prospect Street project that we were working on, the fire station has been put on hold. We had some architectural work done by that company. They've already been paid for that. But we've reached out to the legal counsel that we went with early on in that process, and that is also being put on hold.
Okay.
And Craig Dish, 65 Silver Street. I understand why we're putting it on hold, because we're broke. Where's our tax money gonna go? Where's our tax levy money gonna go? Mr. Rollins, did I word the question correctly, Mr. Rollins?
No, you have the same concern.
Okay, I worded it correctly for Mr. Rollins.
So if I may, Madam Chairperson, the main reason, as the mayor just advised, the pause button was hit in regards to the construction and the turning of dirt at the new fire station is related to our ability to borrow funds. Without a bond rating, it's very difficult to borrow funds.
Been saying it for a year and a half.
So this pause, which I'm hoping, in my opinion, this is just me, not the administration, is short term, and we're picking this up again early in.
Working on our credit, are we kind of, sort of?
We gotta get a bond rating.
Okay.
And actually, there were discussions by administrators about possibly borrowing money without a bond rating. And believe it or not, the rates weren't that bad.
Really?
But with the request for the state auditor to do a fiscal analysis,
We don't qualify.
we're just gonna wait and take 3 or 4 months, let that process work through.
Okay.
And then talk to the safety director about reconvening, in my thought, just my opinion, sometime in March, to say, where are we at? Do we have the bond rating? When are we gonna get the bond rating? When can we borrow the millions it'll take so that we can expend the money that we send in as a part of our real estate taxes? To answer your question directly, those sit in the fire fund and they aren't expended except for those purposes.
Wasn't there an issue with the fire fund being commingled with the general fund or something? Like, we're not separating it out because we don't care about the interest or something like that? To give us 2 minutes fuel?
My recollection is, and from my observation, fire levy funds that we all pay to the county auditor, who then sends them across the street, are safely deposited, separated out. There's no commingling that I've heard of.
Okay.
I I think there was a question about interest.
Okay,
But
see,
that's
so.
a legal question, so you're
Okay.
right. But they're not commingled.
Okay, so they like might be in all bonds all go to the same, all tax levies go to the same thing,
No.
X amount of fire dollars or whatever. Because I don't know why we wouldn't be able to keep track of the interest on it then if we know.
Well, we should be able, one should be able to
Okay.
keep track of the interest.
Okay,
But those fire levy monies that are being paid by each property owner in Marion
so they're
City,
safe somewhere.
they're separated, sitting in a fund,
Okay.
and they should be able to be accounted for separately from all the other city
Because
monies.
you know that'd have been the gossip tomorrow morning, right?
Right. I'm glad you asked the question.
The fire funds are being spent for something else. That's what it would have turned into. So, come on, Mr. Cal, what you got to say?
Just to maybe clarify just a little bit, the architect's been paid for the work that he's been done to this point, and we did not authorize him to go to the next phase, to start working on the next phase of the design, which would have required us to commit to the next payment, which would have been 35. The first payment was 10% of his fee. The second payment, when he would completed that, would have been 35% of his total fee. So we stopped the process there. We had shortlisted our construction managers to 3 firms, and talking with the law firm that the mayor addressed, the Bricker Graydon, that we brought on board at the beginning of this process, they said we can stop that. We'll have to go back and start from scratch on that, but the architect, we won't have to. The construction manager at risk process will have to go back to 0, but the only thing that we have invested in that at this point is the few $100s it takes to post it in the proper channels, and the time and the effort that the selection committee has put into shortlisting those firms, if that helps.
So no one's going to sue us for breach of contract right now?
And that's why we reached out. We had a conference call with Bricker Graydon to make sure that we were stopping this in the right process without opening ourselves up for a lawsuit.
So quite some time ago, I don't even know if I'm assuming you were on at this point, but after we, I believe, authorized the purchase of the building, at that point, the budget director, Tacey Courtright, had come to us with legislation that had to be passed in a certain amount of time to make us eligible to borrow or bond, I want to say $9 million for the project. Is that ringing any bells?
I think that's the way that process works.
So did we do that? Because it had to be done in 60 days or 90 days. There was a short window that we had to act to do that.
I'll check on that, but I think that was just a matter of passing an ordinance that would allow us to do that, to put the cost of the building back into the loan amount or something like that. So I think that we met that time frame. Now it may be a moot issue, but I think at the time, we met that time frame to be able to do that.
I believe that was so we could go back if we wanted to and get bonds to cover the original cost of the building. Even though we already paid that, we could go back and get bonds for that.
Okay. And then it was my understanding when the original tax was proposed to the voters was that the plan all along was to bond out the building and then make payments on that with the money that had come in, because we couldn't have taken in that much money to pay cash for the building. Like, that was the plan from the word go. So the project being placed on hold, does the revenue that comes in from the additional tax, I don't know why is affected by the other general fund struggling, because the same monies are coming in whether we're struggling in other areas or not. So unless, and all cards need to be put on the table, I believe that if push came to shove, the way that the ballot language was, and this was one of the issues that some council people had, was that salaries can be paid from that money. And so, are we keeping all options open? Because we may have to choose between having a building or putting people in a building. Because we may not be able to do both. And so but if that's why it's going on hold, just, I think people may understand. I'm just, I'm one that likes to lay my cards on the table.
I think you're correct on the language. However, us putting this project on hold was because the financial institution that we were just talking with, Baird and Associates, originally told us, even though our audits were behind, that since this was dedicated money and we were going to get some preliminary budgets from 21 and 22, he thought he could still work with us on securing bonds at an affordable rate. However, now that we're going to be in some sort of fiscal caution, he said, I'm not sure that I can get you that affordable rate now. So we were in discussions with him and with the attorney. That's why project's been put on hold. I'm not sure we can afford the percentage rate that they would have to charge at this point.
Okay. And then there were 3 things that they asked me, and I don't remember the third one. I apologize. So that's all I have.
Madam Chairperson, before you adjourn the committee, I actually have one matter that I need to bring the attention of the Finance Committee. I would ask that the committee go into executive session to conference with the city attorney concerning a dispute involving the public body that is a subject of or pending or imminent court action. So.
Marion Craig, 365 Silver Street. 2021 audit. I've been going through it. It's well over 100 pages. 150 plus correcting entries I saw that we needed. But what in the world's a cashless evidence room?
I can tell you.
Is it where I picked stuff up that was stolen from me?
That's the evidence room.
I've been
So
to that
when I
one.
became chief, we went to a cashless evidence room. So when we seize money from a drug dealer or we have money that's taken as safekeeping, I don't want to keep it in the evidence room. So we give it to the bank.
Understood.
And then when people get it back, they get a check from the bank. So, and that's all accounted for with the auditor and the bank, but it doesn't go into new.
Boy, that is a lot less suspect than it sounds, isn't it?
It absolutely is. So that's
That
the
makes
issue.
sense why you don't keep money in here, but
Right.
that's all it is, that you put money in the bank.
Correct. So we
And-
don't keep it in the
Right.
evidence room downstairs
Safety
with
reasons.
the, so it doesn't get
Disappear.
mold, fire, or be a temptation for theft.
Right.
So we take it with, our policy is whenever we have cash, within 3 days, it goes into the bank.
That makes perfect sense.
And there's no interest, right?
No, it's not allowed to have interest.
Thank you for
You're welcome.
clearing that up. And when will the findings for recovery be coming out? Because I know 6+ figures in fines and interest, it looks like the city of Marion taxpayers paid, and just wondering when we'll be getting our money back on that one, because that would go a long way to, well, not a long way, but that would help some revenue situation next year. Should we have any idea when we'll be
Up to the state.
to issue the findings for recovery? That's up to the state. They've not told us when they're going to release them.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that it's okay. I was just wondering why they put out the audit and not the findings for recovery.
Personal opinion, I think they're going to be rolling.
They're just nonstop, just like,
I think some of them are,
oh, you mean they're gonna roll from year to year to year because that's how
Yes.
bad they are? Okay.
Okay, vote to go into executive session.
I would make a motion to go into executive session, allowing all members of city council, current and elected, as well as the administration.
Second?
I'll second.
Ms. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Rollins?
Yes.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
8:30?
Just texted her.
You said
Okay, I just
elected,
texted her.
so that means, yeah.